Hello and welcome to the Individual Investor Show. My name is Jennifer Shear, your host for this evening. I want to thank you again for tuning in, and I hope you all had a wonderful week. As always, we're excited to bring you yet another II show. Tonight's event is the Individual Investor Show, investing ideas and resources for the holidays and beyond. As always, I want to preface tonight's presentation by reminding our viewers that AAII is a nonprofit educational group and is not a financial advisor, and thus is not able to give personal advice. Every investor is different. That's why our goal with every broadcast and article is to educate you on how to make better financial decisions. We are overjoyed by how many people attended our last II show, and as always, we appreciate the support. If you have any questions or suggestions about upcoming topics for the show, feel free to reach out via the comment section below. As Thanksgiving quickly approaches, we were excited to chat with Derek Hageman about the stocks on his newest first cut list. Hageman focuses on 20 stocks set to benefit from Thanksgiving holiday-related business. In our second part of tonight's show, we take a look at AAII's annual Investor's Best of the Web Guide featured in the November issue of the journal. Matthew Bachkowski discusses how the Best of the Web Guide helps you focus on the most useful financial websites and resources to become a more effective individual investor. So, without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy our presentation. Thanks so much for making time for me today to talk, Derek. I'm excited to chat about one of your newest articles published in the November issue of the AAII Journal. Thanksgiving can mean family, football, turkey, parade, and stocks, which highlights your first cut list of 20 stocks set to benefit from Thanksgiving-related business. My first question for you is kind of understanding the basics of the first cut list. First of all, why is it called the first cut list?
Well, it's a good question, and yeah, thanks for having me, Jen. I appreciate it. It's called the first cut stocks filter because it is designed as a starting point, really, showing the top stocks that pass relatively simple screens of interest to individual investors. And the filter, what it really does is it provides a starting point, a list of investing ideas based on certain fundamental factors. To then conduct further due diligence and research on. So that's really why it's called the first cut filter.
So tell us a little bit about the specific stock screener and how it can help evaluate Thanksgiving related businesses or stocks.
Sure. So the first cut filter for this issue, it's really basic. We screen for exchange listed stocks with a tie to companies set to benefit from Thanksgiving holiday related business. So we looked at companies in several industries. We looked at travel related stocks. So whether it was an airline, a cruise company, a travel booking service. We also looked at oil and gas companies because a lot of people hop in their car during the holidays to travel to friends or families' homes. So we looked at travel stocks like Delta Airlines and United Airlines. We also looked at food and beverage companies. Turkey producers, of course. We looked at grocery stores, alcohol, beverage, and snack manufacturers like Constellation Brands and Seaboard. Seaboard, of course, is the maker of Butterball turkeys, which I'm sure a lot of our viewers are familiar with. And with Black Friday and Cyber Monday, such an important part of the Thanksgiving holiday season, we also looked at companies related to shopping and retail. And not everyone likes to cook over the holidays. So we even looked at a restaurant company, Restaurant Brands. And of course, at least in my family, we like to watch all the football games. So we included some broadcasters like Viacom, CBS, and Comcast. And so 20 stocks made the first cut stocks list, and they're ranked within their industry from low to high by their forward price earnings ratio, which, and just a reminder, the forward PE ratio, it divides the current stock price by the consensus expected earnings for the company's current fiscal year and provides a sense for the expectations priced into these stocks. And we also looked at a short-term picture of earnings stability and growth provided through the display of annual earnings per share for each of the last 2 years, along with the expected earnings for the current fiscal year. And so we looked at some near-term things, and we also looked at the historical earnings growth figure over the last 5 years to give us a longer-term perspective of bottom line growth. And while sales growth does the same thing with strength in the top line of the income statement. So we looked at a balance of some short-term factors and some historical perspective as well.
And so how does analyzing the past 5 years of historical data help people navigate trading during the holidays as a whole?
No, good question. And like I mentioned, the historical earnings growth figure over the last 5 years, it gives us a longer term perspective of bottom line growth, and also gives us a longer historical perspective on the top line growth with sales. And so by analyzing the past 5 years of historical data, it helps provide insight how the company has performed over a longer time period. So we are looking for fundamentally strong companies that have shown the ability to grow over time and may be expected to continue to grow.
And what are a few of the best AAII tools or resources members can take advantage of to navigate holiday investing a little easier?
Sure, yeah. So with this holiday list, we only looked at a few fundamental metrics. There are some really powerful AAII tools that members can use to navigate holiday investing and do a more of a deep dive on a company. So one example would be the A+ Investor Stock Evaluator. It provides company snapshots, grades on 5 important factors related to value, growth, momentum, EPS revisions, and quality. And there's lots of other comprehensive data on financials, ratios, analyst estimates, earnings, etc. We like to think of it as this tool as a one-stop shop for comprehensive information on a company. So I would start with the list, and then I would enter one of the tickers into the stock evaluator and see how the company grades on the 5 factors that I just mentioned: value, growth, momentum, etc. And I would see how the company has performed over not only the short term, but the long term as well. And then next, I would look at how the company compares to its industry. And from this one tool, an investor can really start to form a view on a company. And we really think it's a powerful tool.
That's great. And what is a piece of advice you would tell members about investing around the holidays, either Thanksgiving or Christmas or into the new year as well?
Sure. So, as you know, we practice and follow a long-term approach to investing at AAII. So with that in mind, we put the holiday themed list of stocks together we put it together to have some fun with the holidays, knowing that some of these stocks can get a little bump in share price around the holidays. However, we would not invest in these stocks just because they appeared on the holiday list. They really are meant to be a starting point for further research, and we would want to make sure that they've demonstrated strong fundamentals over the long term. And one more thing, as the holidays are important for these stocks, I would pay attention to survey results from analysts commenting on how the consumer spending was over the holidays. You can find a lot of these types of articles at CNBC, Seeking Alpha, Yahoo Finance. And these results can really be a barometer for how the company will perform for not only the quarter and the full year, but also help frame the longer term outlook for a company.
That makes sense. And last but not least, what are your Thanksgiving plans? Any funny stories you'd like to share or anything you're looking forward to?
Yeah, no, definitely. Thanksgiving plans for this year are for my wife and I to go to my parents' place in Minnesota and celebrate with family. We usually host Thanksgiving, but we're getting a little break this year. We're having a place built, and with all the labor and material shortages, the delivery date has been pushed back a few months. So we're in temporary housing. We really don't have adequate place to host the family. But there is a downside to not hosting this year. We live in Colorado, so by not hosting Thanksgiving, we're actually going to miss out on our annual version of Black Friday. So instead of shopping until we drop, we normally go skiing at Breckenridge and we ski until we drop. So looks like we're going to have to wait until next year to restart the tradition. And I don't know about you, Jenna, but after looking at some of the companies on the list of Thanksgiving themed stocks, I'm getting very excited about Thanksgiving. And I almost started drooling on my computer screen, thinking about eating some turkey, mashed potatoes, and pie.
Oh, definitely. Me too. And I'm a big skier, so I'm sad to hear that you won't be continuing that tradition this year, but maybe in the future.
Definitely in the future.
And thanks for delving into your first cut list, giving us a little bit more of an understanding about what goes into, creating that list in the first place. And I also wanted to ask you a few questions about your second article in the November AAII journal, which was Buy Great Companies for the Long Term, Buffett Hagstrom Screening Strategy, which talks about analyzing the types of criteria stocks need to qualify for this screening strategy. So just to jump right into that, first off, where can members find this Buffett Hagstrom screening strategy on the AAII website?
Yeah, so the Buffett Hagstrom screen, it's one of nearly 60 stock selection screens that we've created based on the investing philosophies of investing gurus or specific factors. So it can be found by going to AAII.com. So go to our website and you can hover over, it's called screening, and it's from the headings under the AAII logo at the top of the page. By hovering over the screening heading, a subheading will appear and you can click on Guru Screens under Stock Screening, and the Buffett Hagstrom screen, it will actually be the first one that appears on the list. You can click on it. It will take you to the strategy where you can see the strategy's performance. You can see the companies that are currently passing the screen. And there's also a section on how the screen works.
That's great. And how do you think members can benefit from following a long-term strategy like Buffett Hagstrom's?
Yeah, so I think it's a good question. I think members can benefit from following a long-term strategy like Buffett Hagstrom because the approach, what it does is it identifies excellent businesses based on the prospects for the industry and the ability of management to exploit opportunities for the ultimate benefits of shareholders. And then the strategy, it waits for the share price to reach a level that would provide the investor with a desired long-term rate of return. So most investors have little trouble understanding Buffett's philosophy. The approach encompasses many widely held investment principles, and its successful implementation, it's dependent upon the dedication of the investor to learn and follow the principles. It requires also the ability to stick to the approach during times of market volatility. But for individual investors willing to do the considerable homework involved, the Buffett Hagstrom screen, the approach offers a promising path to investment value.
That makes sense. That's excellent. And what are your own thoughts about and opinions on the 12 basic Buffett principles?
Well, I really agree with the title of the article. I think it really sums it up perfectly. So buy great companies for the long term. The screen, it prevents the approach through an accessible series of questions that should be explored really with any potential investment. And the approach requires that you analyze a stock as a business. I really like that question. It demands a margin of safety for each purchase. Again, I think that can be applied across any potential investment. It also, you have to focus and manage a focused portfolio, and then protect yourself from the speculative and emotional forces of the market. So Hagstrom, it identifies 12 basic Buffett principles from business, management, financial, and valuation tenets that a company should possess to be considered for purchase. So not all of Buffett's purchases displayed all of these tenets, but as a group, the principles help to establish a reasonable approach to selecting stocks. So I think it does a really good job at that. And I really appreciate that the tenets cover both qualitative and quantitative business elements.
And is there anything else you'd like to highlight from the article that I didn't mention above?
Let's see. Yeah, there would be one thing. I think if you have an opportunity to look at Warren Buffett, and each year he writes a shareholder letter for Berkshire Hathaway stockholders, and he touches on this theme a lot. But Buffett feels that speculators are primarily concerned with a company's stock price, while investors first focus on how the business is doing. And Buffett was a firm believer that knowledge helps to increase investment return and reduce risk. And I think that's one point that really should be a takeaway from this article. And I think it's another thing that Buffett always stresses is that it's important to keep one's emotions in check. We should not let our emotions override our good judgment. And every person must take their own psychology into account. And some losses, they're just inevitable when it comes to investing. So if you cannot emotionally handle the volatility, then you should probably consider a more conservative investment style. So I just like the fact that Buffett stresses buying great companies and to be a long-term investor.
That makes sense. Thank you so much. And that's fantastic. Thanks again for sitting down with me today, Derek. I really appreciate your time and showing us, the differences between the two articles and what to expect for investing in the new year.
Definitely, it was my pleasure. And yeah, I hope members get a chance to check out both those articles. I think, especially with the Thanksgiving one, you can have some fun with it. And then obviously with Buffett, just one of the greatest value investors of all time. So there's always something to learn from Mr. Buffett.
Exactly. And members can find the November issue of the AAII Journal on our website. And yeah, thank you again, and have a great rest of your day.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Matt. I appreciate you making the time for me today to discuss the Investor's Best of the Web Guide in the November AAII Journal. My first question is, give us a little background on how long AAII has been producing the Best of the Web Guide.
Yeah, so the Best of the Web is our long-running guide designed, like you said, to highlight resources we think are the most useful for individual investors. It goes back to about the mid-90s when it was a feature of computerized investing. Computerized investing itself goes back to the 80s. It predates the internet. And especially the abundance of available software and applications that you can find now. That publication even had articles on how to program software, like basic spreadsheet programs that needed some basic coding knowledge. So eponymously, computerized investing was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy to the point where we no really longer needed it as a separate publication. Investing pretty much presumes computers these days. So we took the most popular features from computerized investing and folded those into the journal as regular features. And then so as far as our production of the guide each year, we look at the last two articles we published and then also the expanded online version. And then we go through each entry and we look, has anything changed? Is the website still running? Is the website still good? And then if it is for a price, has the price changed? Or has the service it offers for that price changed? We're always looking for better alternatives. Just because something was included previously doesn't mean it automatically gets to be put back in. We'll definitely look for better or use better websites if there's a better alternative. But there's not often wholesale paradigm shifts in the type of knowledge that you need to effectively manage your assets. So a lot of the entries in the guide kind of remain as a bit of a core. And that's just basically due to their quality over time.
That makes sense. And so you kind of discussed the qualifications a little bit, but which new AAII resources or tools did your team want to highlight on this list specifically, and why?
Yeah, so it's a small new category, but one of the new categories we have is ESG, which stands for environmental, social, and governance concerns. It's tough because these are really emerging criteria for investing. There isn't a standardized, which in this case meaning legal uh, set of criteria for identifying ESG standards. Um, but we wanted to include a website that if you were more interested in this type of investing, you can focus on that. It's an increasingly popular trend right now. And then also under the financial planning category, we added two websites for retirement planning, retirementbudgetcalculator.com and retirementoptions.com. Most of our members are either in retirement or quickly approaching it. So there's really never too many resources we can include when it comes to retirement planning.
That's great. And have you, as far as what resources, because you mentioned about retirement, what resources or websites do you think a beginner investor versus an advanced investor could use to further their financial knowledge using the best of the web resource guide?
Yeah, so if you're a beginner, I think like something like finra.org as a website is a great place to start for financial planning. It's investor focused in mission, and it offers tools to check brokers. So if you haven't chosen a brokerage service yet, it also has basic retirement calculators and savings calculators. And just generally, it has really good informative articles on investing basics. Um, I also like Finviz uh, as a news aggregator. I think for beginners, it would also be really helpful. It has a really clean user interface, and it has a very prominent chart feature at the top of each individual page, stock page. And I think what this does for beginners is it can provide a good visual connection between large price movements, large trade or days of large trading volume, and then you can scroll down and see what the pertinent news was that kind of initiated that movement. Um, for advanced investors, it's a little tougher, but I think that's mainly because advanced investors know, for the most part, specifically what they need. Um, but I think they're probably more so in some cases looking just for specific data. So we have a list of websites under the index and return data category that's useful. That includes academic resources, and then also probably the stock screening section. Um, those include often more advanced software options, and they also tend to come sometimes at more of a premium. So, an advanced investor would probably better be able to decide which premium services they need. And also, I guess I wanted to highlight too a couple of whether, especially if you're a beginner, I think under the finance blog section, we have our new My Investing Discoveries blog, which is coming from our assistant editor. And there, Anine is tracking her own personal journey as a beginning investor. So, if you are brand new or you know someone that's brand new, I think that's a great resource to just kind of see what the basic steps and anxieties are. And whether you're beginner or advanced, I think our new community platform, which is a new entry this year as well, under the discussion boards category. I think that's another great resource. And that's going to continue to grow as it grows as an interactive discussion. And it also hosts our PRISM Wealth Building Academy, which is another new resource whether you're beginner or advanced.
That's excellent. And as far as trends, have you noticed any new trends for what investors are looking for, like certain programs or tools, and how has that changed over the years?
Yeah, I think it's a big question to answer, but I think the anxieties that investors have and the services that try to meet the needs of those anxieties at their core level, I think they're largely unchanged. Probably going back 100 years. But I think the biggest change right now is just the amount of short-term white noise that we have to tune out to manage, our emotional well-being and to keep our investment tactics in line with our investment strategy. There's tons of tools, communities, channels um, that people can access. It's easier and easier to build them as software. But how do investors use them? So I think one of the maybe one of the more important trends for investors online now is where are they getting their guidance from? Accessing information is easier than ever, but for what purpose is the guidance that you're being offered? What is its kind of ultimate purpose? Is it doing it from a a kind of nonprofit standpoint, or is it doing it from a profit standpoint? Um, and so I think investors are looking for the guidance that suits them personally. So whether that means free or premium, I think everybody's looking for habitual sources. So whether that is, going to your broker for all your tools, calculators, or a different website, or even relying more on a community forum for news versus a news website. I think the biggest trend is just there's so much option that it's up to the investor to kind of decide what's guiding them through the internet and investing.
That makes sense. I can definitely see that. And as far as from the best of the web guide, which kinds of online resources do you personally use to invest smarter? Are there things off of this list, or are there things that you've included in past best of the web guides?
Well, I definitely hope that I'm using them to invest smarter. Um, Me personally, I like the Wall Street Journal for my market and economic news. Um, I can luckily say that I get to use a student discount to access that, but I don't think a digital subscription is much more than a couple bucks a week. I'm also a fan of the Marketplace radio show. I personally listen to it as a podcast, so I don't listen to it every day, but because I listen to it as a podcast, I can look through the topics and the news stories it's covering, and I can decide if I want to listen to that day's episode or not. Um, Otherwise, I look for free and like well maintained information wise websites. So especially government websites, we have lots of those on the best of the web list. Um, Specifically if I have questions about healthcare or taxes, um, those are really good websites. And then I do rely on my broker, which is Schwab, which being a large discount broker just has a ton of tools if I want to use them. I don't always, but they're there if I need them. And then I have to say that it is a part of my job, so I do try to use AAII's resources as much as I can. Um, that's for news aggregation, charts, screening, etc. I think it's really pretty comprehensive, everything that we offer. But it also allows me to keep tabs on our website and just make sure everything that we're offering the membership base is being maintained.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And what is one resource you haven't tried yet that's on the list, but would want to utilize in the near future?
I think I would definitely want to look at the retirement planning section um, a bunch of resources. Off the top of my head, I know we have new retirement on that list. That one, there's actually a discount for AAII membership. So because I have a membership, I'd probably go to that one. But yeah, probably I would look personally. I would probably start looking at retirement planning.
Makes sense. So am I. I'll have to do that in the near future as well. I'm definitely going to use some of the best of the web's resources for retirement. And then I saw some great, if you're interested in getting into the real estate sector or a couple of different areas. Is there any specific stock screener or information that you use, that you pull from AAII's membership? Is there a specific membership or just like a specific screener that you typically use?
Yeah, I think when it comes to say looking for a screen on AAI.com, I always start with what are the factors that I want to screen on. There are specific investment factors that um, academic research has shown to over time uh, beat the market. Um, and so I tend to, one of those is, value investing. Another one is momentum. So if you want to look at either, I think it's the screen characteristics, stock screens characteristics page. It lists each screen's factors. So I would look at um, anything that's looking at those value factors or those momentum factors. Um, yeah, then also the screen power rankings is another good one where you can rank all of our screens by 1 year. I think it's 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10 year performance. But also you can look at bull and bear performance. I think that's often something that we kind of tend to overlook as investors is, how does a strategy perform in uh, both types of market, a bull and a bear market.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Matt. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about the Best of the Web resource guide. And I will link everything in the descriptions below as far as, having access to the November issue of the AAI Journal. But yeah, thank you again. And I look forward to speaking again soon.
Thanks, Jenna.
Awesome. Thank you. Hello, Charles. Thanks so much for making time to talk with me today about your two newest articles in the November AAII Journal, Portfolio Monitoring for Progress of Goals and Life Stage Changes, as well as Enhancing AAII Membership. My first question is focused on understanding the PRISM process, as well as the PRISM Academy a little better. And so we'll start with some basics. What is the PRISM Wealth Building Academy?
PRISM Wealth Building Academy is designed to help individual investors and particularly AAII members get the most out of the PRISM Wealth Building process. The PRISM Wealth Building process is really a 5-step framework to help individual investors align their investing process and their investing decisions with their goals. And so the PRISM Academy provides a deep dive into the PRISM process, and it walks everybody through each step of the PRISM process, explains the importance of it, goes into nuances about each step so they understand. But most importantly, when members are done with the PRISM Wealth Building Academy, they will have their own wealth building plan. So this is not just education. How do you do this? This is really walking you through the process of developing your own wealth building plan, which you will have and you can use throughout the rest of your investing lifetime. You can share with your family to explain what you're doing and why you're doing it. And this is an interactive course. Now I'm using the word course lightly because we really want to be interactive. We have videos, worksheets, discussion forums, office hours, which we'll discuss in a moment. So we want this to be a really an interactive experience, and we want it to be a very personalized experience because everyone's wealth building plan will be different than everybody else's. So this is your chance to really develop a written plan that will help you make even better investing decisions going forward.
That's exciting. And so you talked a little bit about what members will gain, but I just wanted to delve into that a little bit more. So what can the members expect to get out of joining the PRISM Academy?
Absolutely. So we're really going to walk through the 5-step PRISM process. And the idea behind PRISM is if you have a goal in mind for why you're saving, and everybody has a goal for money, whether it's to leave a legacy for their heirs, perhaps if they're younger to buy a house, maybe something else. Maybe it's a really nice vacation, a nice sports car. Maybe you're inclined to help certain charities, or you want to leave money or help your congregation, or just perhaps you just want to have a lot of money at hand to give you that security. Whatever your goal is, those goals should drive the rest of your investing decisions. And so much of the financial media is really focused on what's going on now, what's going on with the economy, what stock should I buy now. We really want you to take a step back and think about, okay, why is money important to me? What do I hope to do with it? And once you define that, then your investing decisions become a lot clearer, because then it's not so much what's happening in the market today or what's going to happen tomorrow. It's really, I have this goal. How do I fund this goal? And how do I make investing decisions to ensure that my goal is met? And I'm aligning all my decisions with that goal. So PRISM is really about helping you build that framework. So we're not going to tell you specifically do X, Y, and Z. We're going to give you the roadmap to say, if you hit this point and you hit this point and you do these certain things, you'll reach your goals. Now, what those certain things are, it's going to vary by each person. Maybe you're a value investor with a long-term goal. Maybe you're more of a growth investor and you have short-term and intermediate term and long-term goals. We're going to give you all the tools to build your wealth building plan, but you're still ultimately going to build a plan that works best for you. And that might be a slightly different plan than perhaps another AAII member in your own community, or perhaps another AAII member across the country. So everybody's going to have their own personalized plan, but because it's a personalized plan, it's going to be something that's going to work better for you, and probably something you're going to be better able to stick with no matter what the market is doing.
That makes sense. And so when members can go into the PRISM Academy now, they'll see that we're on step 1, which is P for planning. So why did we decide to start with goal planning, and what significance does that hold?
So we really think the whole PRISM process starts with just prioritizing your goals. What goals are you trying to achieve? And then what goals are most important to you? And the reason why is that those really drive your decisions. So say you have a goal and we'll just say it's 30 years in the future. We'll just pick a nice round number. Well, then that's a long-term goal. And so all your investing decisions should be long-term if you don't expect to spend that money in 30 years. Perhaps you're young and you're saving for retirement, or perhaps your retirement and you're thinking about leaving money for your heirs, or something in between. The idea is then your investing decisions should be aligned with that goal, because if that's 30 years in the future, what Jerome Powell does with interest rates now, what happens to the economy in a post-coronavirus world, what happens 5 years from now, all those things really don't matter as much when you're looking at this long time frame. So you really want to think long-term, and what investing decisions do you need to make to achieve a long-term goal? So we're giving you that clarity to look past the short term. Now, obviously, if you have a shorter term goal, then you need to adjust your investing decisions accordingly. You need to adjust your allocation as well accordingly. So the whole idea is, what are my goals? How far in the future are those goals? When do I need to start spending on those goals? And some goals, say like retirement, do have a long tail to them. They have a long spending duration. So then you need to think both short term, making sure you have enough cash on hand to withdraw to fund your living expenses. But if you're, say, 65, 70, and you're in good health, it's important to realize you could conceivably be looking at 25 or 30 more years of investing. And so you need to align your portfolio, obviously, to meet your short-term cash flow needs, but you also need to think longer term as well. And so by understanding that, you can use that goal of funding retirement to make your investing decisions accordingly, and not worry so much about what's being talked about on CNBC, what's on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, and certainly not worried about what those people on Reddit are talking about today or tomorrow.
That's so true. And looking to the future, what will the next lessons, when we go to R for risk, teach us? When will R debut?
Well, we will actually be debuting step 2 very soon, this month actually, and we'll be going into risk tolerance and then allocation. So we labeled step 2, recognizing risk tolerance and allocation. And the reason why is they're closely tied together. So allocation really, it comes from what are your goals, how far are your goals, and when you're spending. But then risk is what is your ability to tolerate volatility in the markets, your ability to tolerate swings in your portfolio. So obviously, from a financial standpoint, your ability to fund your goals and still have your portfolio fluctuate in value. But then we also to consider things such as your psychological risk. How likely are you to react to market moves? So those two things combined drive your allocation. And when you think about how you should invest, it really is, what's the timing of my goals, both from when you reach your goals and when you're going to spend on your goals. What's your ability to withstand market volatility? And based on that, what's the appropriate allocation? Once you decide those three things, everything else becomes a lot more simple because then it's a matter of, I know this allocation is appropriate for me based on my goals and based on my ability to tolerate risk. Then I just simply need to know what do I plug into these pieces of the puzzle versus trying to figure out what the whole puzzle is by picking up individual pieces by perhaps someone saying, oh, you should buy this stock, or you should buy this bond, or you should buy this mutual fund. We're clarifying all that by letting you focus on, here's my goals, here's my tolerance for risk, here's my allocation. Now, let me just plug in those holes that I know I need to fill to have the right allocation for me. So we're going to get to that issue of risk tolerance and then to allocation in step 2.
And when we're talking about the few, you mentioned PRISM office hours when we first started. What is PRISM office hours, and when can we expect the next one to occur?
So I talked also about PRISM being an interactive experience. So one of the things is we're holding office hours, and we've been joking around the office that we should start calling them brunch hours. But and it's bring your own mimosas, by the way. But what it is your chance to ask me and my colleagues questions about the PRISM process. And if you have questions about the community, Jenna, you'll be online as well. So it's your chance to actually ask us, hey, I have a question about this thing, or why did you do this? Or if you have feedback from us, I really like this. I'd like the Academy more if you did X. So this is your chance to actually interact with us. So when I talk about PRISM being interactive, you not only have the chance to interact with us through our office hours and also on discussion forums, but you'll also have the ability to interact with other AI members and talk about what your experiences with them, what challenges you're facing, what lessons you're learning, what lessons you've learned that you'd like to share with other people. So we don't want this to be one direction where it's videos of me talking and posts by Jenna on there. We want to hear back from you. We really want to engage you on this. This really is a community experience. And so office hours is just an extension of that community experience.
That's excellent. And so as PRISM progresses over the next few months, how will the PRISM Academy prepare members for investing in the new year?
So it's great because there's two things. So now as we're heading for the holidays, we're asking people in step 1 to identify your goals, and in step 2 to start thinking about your risk tolerance. And as you're sitting down with your family, perhaps you're spending time with them over Thanksgiving, start talking about the PRISM Academy, start talking about what you're doing. But it's also a good idea to perhaps talk to them about your goals and have that discussion about why is money important to you? What do you hope to do with your goals? And certainly, if you have younger children or younger grandchildren, it's a great way to start getting that discussions about financial education, about why you're investing, why savings is really important. If perhaps your children are older, or perhaps you're visiting your parents or grandparents and they're older, it's a good time to maybe talk to them about their goals and their experiences and what they hope to have to do with their money. So it's a really great time to start having those family conversations about money. And it's not always easy to start those conversations, but this might be a doorway you can open up and lead to those discussions. I'll also point out in a November AI journal, I'm talking about the PRISM process. I'm actually ahead in a journal. I'm jumping ahead to step 5, where we talk about life stages. And we talk about how that affects your portfolio monitoring. And that's another good opportunity over Thanksgiving, or perhaps you're seeing your relatives or your close family over Hanukkah or over Christmas or over New Year's to start talking about, perhaps transitions, your estate plans, what you hope to do if you're thinking about leaving a legacy for your heirs. So these types of things, the PRISM process is not just about you building a wealth plan, but it might give you a framework where you can start having some of these conversations with your family members. And I can tell you, speaking personally, I've had it with my parents, I had it with my in-laws. It was extremely valuable conversations to just have with them and understand what they're doing with their money, what their financial situation is, where documents are located. And those types of conversations are really helpful. And if you haven't had those conversations, maybe you can use PRISM to help start those conversations.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think this is the best time to, to have those conversations, like you say, and especially when the holidays, when you have extra time, around the table. I'm definitely planning on talking about it with my parents, and I hope everybody does as well. And this is an exciting new benefit. 2 new member benefits that we're offering. Can members join anytime, and how do they go about participating in the first place?
Absolutely. Members can join anytime. I want to stress this is an member benefit. So if you're an AI member, you have 1-year subscription, you have 4-year membership, you're a lifetime member. This is included in your membership. And getting to the PRISM Academy is really easy. Just go on the AI website where you'll see Learn and Plan, click on that tab, or you can go to our community where it says Community and click on that tab and click on Community. Either one will bring you into the community section. When you click on planning, you'll actually see the 5 steps of PRISM. You can go right into the PRISM Academy through that. Through the community tab, it'll take you into a community where PRISM's incorporated. And you can also see our other community forums as well and engage in those discussion groups. So either of those, you can go directly to them. And Jenna, I know there's also a direct URL people can just type into their browser.
Yes, you're right. You can visit community.aaii.com, and that'll take you right to the homepage where you can peruse the sites, see the different communities, like you said, that are available, and then get right to discussing with other community members. And is there anything else you'd like to highlight about PRISM or your 2 November AAII journal articles?
So there's 2 things. First of all, I want to stress that PRISM really is being built for you, the AI member. So again, we're not trying to tell you exactly how to invest. We're trying to give you the framework to build your own plan. So we really want you to get engaged in this and really think about how it can help you. But the other thing, I did bring up the November journal where I'm talking about life stages. I'm talking about portfolio monitoring. And as we get to the end of the year, I know a lot of times people's New Year's goals to think about, well, what would I change in my portfolio? How would I invest better? Take some time and read that article. And as I mentioned a second ago, perhaps use this discussion about portfolio monitoring and changes in the family. And perhaps that leads you to having that discussion with your own family. We talk so much about investing. You should do this and this and this. And very often there's very little discussion about simple things like go check all the beneficiary information on your accounts and make sure it's correct, make sure it's updated. Check your estate plans, check your wills. And we get into a little bit in the article in November AI Journal, but this portfolio monitoring process shouldn't be, okay, I have X amount of dollars on my portfolio. Start thinking about those small things, particularly if you're thinking about leaving a legacy for your family, simply making sure that your will's up to date, your estate plans are up to date, your policies, all your beneficiary designations are correct. It's critical, and it sounds really simple, but simply making sure they're correct once a year can save you and your heirs a lot of headaches in the future.
That's so true. I feel like people don't consider that, especially as you get older or even any time during your life. It just saves your grandkids and your children, so much time and headache, once if anything happens. And thank you so much, Charles. If you're a member and would like to join the AAII community, please visit our website at aaii.com, as Charles spoke about earlier, and you can click on the community tab, or you can visit, like I said, community.aaii.com. In addition, you can check out our November articles at aaii.com/journal. And Yeah, I'd like to thank you again, Charles, for speaking with us today. I had a wonderful chat, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening.
Thanks, I enjoyed it. Thanks, Jenna.
Thanks.
And now a word from our friends at Discover Bank, sponsor of the Individual Investor Show and AAII webinars. We know as individuals interested in building investor wealth, you never want your money to be idle. Even small dollar amounts for short amounts of time should be working for you. With that, we're pleased to share information from our partner, Discover Bank, on deposit accounts that keep your money moving. You can choose from several options to help you meet your short-term or long-term financial goals. The best part? All of the deposit accounts offer preferred member rates. Please take a look.
We hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. I want to thank Derek Hageman and Matthew Wachkowski for making time to chat with me about their November AAII journal articles. After speaking with them both, I'm excited to research holiday-related stocks and take advantage of the best of the web's resources. And although I may not be prepared for the holiday season, I know I'll be ready to choose my investments before the year comes to a close. And if you'd like to catch a replay of tonight's broadcast, you can visit our YouTube channel tomorrow afternoon. And if you'd like to register for upcoming webinars, visit aai.com/webinars. As always, please remember to click the subscribe button if you'd like to be alerted of future II shows. Remember to check out our website for helpful resources on our Education Hub. Lastly, if you'd like to become an AAII member, we offer a variety of services that can help you become a well-informed individual investor. Visit aai.com to learn more. And with that, we wish all of you viewing good health, good fortune, and a great evening. Thank you and take care.